Muy buenas tardes. Esta presentación va a ser en español y no vamos a tener intérprete, vamos a tener un examen al final de la presentación, así que espero que puedan pasarlo, pongan atención. Well, my highlight of the whole convention has been to be among 500 women, wow, that have the same feelings about Chris Kobach and our Governor Brownback. My story of these two men, I mean, they go way back. And so I just come up with a whole list of names. I mean, for Governor Brownback, amazing. A sixth grader can do better than him, and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's been like really exciting. I want to commend all of you for being such a cheerleaders and being with every all the presenters. Awesome work. But I want to make a special recognition for all those who work, as teachers or in the school districts. I used to work for the school district, so I know what it is like for 8 years here in Wichita. And so I just commend you for all the hard work that you do with so little recognition and so little support. And so, we are here to support you. We know how hard you work, and we just, the whole thing, I'm so angry. I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired about So I am so glad that all of you guys feel like me. One of the most amazing things is when I accompany Laura to do all these roundups. I mean, it was very exciting to see the women, the frustration, the anger, and the desire to do something about it. And I think the proof that they are serious about it is here in this room. We're going to get it done. So what I said at the beginning was that this presentation was going to be made in Spanish, and there was going to be a test at the end of the presentation. Because, this happens to our kids all the time in the schools. I just wanted to give you a little test of that. I am an immigrant. I am immigration. Oh, wait a minute. Aren't we all immigrants here? Is there any Native Americans in this room? Thank you. I immigrated from Mexico 29 years ago as an undocumented immigrant, so that's a little bit more impressive than my little bio they put in there. How is it that an illegal immigrant gets to travel all the way to Europe, supported by with the State Department program? Anyway, long story. So I immigrated 20 years ago, and can you put the first slide, please? Okay. Now, I didn't put it there I'm going to make a point on the picture. Okay, so I immigrated 20 years ago to this country as an undocumented immigrant. Very shortly after I arrived, I find a job. I enroll in English classes. I found a church. I got involved in organizations. And I started the process of legalizing my status. Now, why would anybody desire to leave everything they know and love to cross the border and risk their lives if there isn't a very good reason for it? So as you think about illegal immigration and as you think about this workshop, think about that. Now, it took my family and I about $30,000 and 15 years of our lives to legalize our status. And to put this into perspective, my son and I, this is when he was born in the United States, this is when he was 18 years of age, were eligible to vote for the first time, both of us, when he turned 18. So that is why I title my presentation, Why Don't They Just Get Online? And a quick response to that is because there is no line to get in. So myths and facts about immigration, and it's going to be actually only 7. I decided to cut it short because this is kind of like the broader spectrum, and then Armando is going to touch into the economic here in Kansas. So immigrants don't pay taxes. Really? Like the rest of us, unauthorized immigrants pay property taxes even if they are renting and are subject to sales taxes on what they buy. I mean, I don't go to the store and they tell me, wait a minute, are you undocumented or documented? Oh, undocumented, you don't have to pay taxes. Households headed by unauthorized immigrants pay $10.6 billion in state and local taxes in 2010, according to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy. You know, the sad part of all this is that they don't see a dime of what they pay. Shortly after I started working, I found out that undocumented immigrants could go to the IRS and get a tax identification number so they could pay their taxes and report their taxes. And so I did that. Just like a lot of the undocumented immigrants. So even if you don't have the tax identification number, you still get money taken out, you know, like any other regular authorized worker. So myth number 2, immigrants come here to get welfare. Really? So one day I woke up and I said, I am going to cross the border illegally, risk my life, and go to Kansas to get a driver's license and then get on welfare. That's what people think. Yeah. So unauthorized immigrants are not eligible for most public benefits and are very limited in what they can receive. Most authorized immigrants cannot receive federal Medicaid. Notice I said authorized, so that means the unauthorized, you know, they cannot receive federal Medicaid, temporary assistance to needy families, supplement security income, or food stamps during their first 5 years, regardless of how long they have worked or how much they have paid in taxes. So even authorized immigrants are barred for all those services for 5 years. And I'm a living proof of that. Even when they are eligible for certain benefits, experts say the low-income immigrants are less likely to receive public benefits for a variety of reasons, including lack of knowledge and or fear the benefit usage could negatively affect future immigration applications. And so we try to stay away from all that. As I shared on my introduction, I worked for 13 years as an undocumented immigrant, and when I became a legal permanent resident, I was still not eligible for any of these benefits. If something wouldn't happen to me, I wouldn't be able to receive anything. Myth number 3. Immigrants take jobs and opportunities away from Americans, or US-borns, I like to say. The largest wave of immigrants to the US since early 1900s coincided with our lowest national unemployment rate and fastest growing economic growth. In addition, immigrant entrepreneurs create jobs for US and foreign workers, and foreign-born students allow many US graduate programs to keep their doors open. And I know there is a lot of numbers that I could bring to you, but I decided it's the end of the day. The handouts have the numbers and have the websites that you can go if you need, you know, all that. I didn't want to give you all those numbers and statistics for 2 reasons. You know, it's been a long day. It's been an exciting long day. But the other reason is that Armando and I both often talk about it, and we want to stop presenting or seeing the immigrant community as commodities, as something that they can be disposable. We take you when we need you, we toss you out when we don't. And you know, that has been the history of the country. And right now is our time to be on the back of the bus. Like I said, the Latino community. I'm talking about newly arrived immigrants, but this has been the history through the history of our country. And so it's like, have we learned anything? Sadly, we haven't. So I have a question, and there is a lot of people here from Southwest Kansas, right? Garden City, that city. So who does these jobs? Does anybody want a job, this kind of job? Let's move to the next one. Or this one. Now, as probably all of you know this, that when the anti-immigrant laws in Arizona, Alabama, Georgia, the fields were going bad, tomatoes were running, because people fled these states in fear of those laws. And so they couldn't find nobody else to do those jobs. And when they will come and apply, they will last 2 or 3 days, and they were gone. They could not withstand the hardship of this job. Yet our Secretary of State, my favorite person, Chris Kobach, continues to push for the enactment of these bad laws here in Kansas and in other states, and then he gets paid to defend those bad laws. How about that? No wonder he doesn't want to disclose his, his income tax returns. I mean, he travels all over the country defending laws. Armando and I went to the hearing at the Senate when they were talking about the immigration bill, and guess who was there? My friend Chris Kobach. I mean, all of this he is doing on on our tab. We are paying him to be our Secretary of State, and he's all over the country defending his own bad laws that he introduced. So there's another job that if anybody wants it, there is plenty of them around. Even this one. So that takes me to myth number 4. Immigrants don't want to learn English or become citizens. Within 10 years of arrival, more than 75% of immigrants speak English well, sometimes not so well, sorry. Moreover, demand for English classes at adult level exceeds the supply. And for example, the programs that I went to learn English and to get my GED when my babies were babies, they're now 24 and 21. They're disappearing. They already disappeared. Those programs that I went to, they're no longer in existence, thanks to people like our governor. Greater than 33% immigrants are naturalized citizens. Given increase of immigration in the 1900s, this figure will rise more and more as more legal permanent residents become eligible for naturalization. The number of immigrants naturalizing spiked sharply after 2 events: enactment of immigration and welfare reform laws in 1996 and the terrorist attacks in 2001. And in 2007, there was also a big hike. We launched a project that it was called Building America Together, and we saw that there was a lot of legal permanent residents that qualified to become USA citizens and weren't doing it. So we launched a campaign and helped 1.2 million become naturalized citizens, and 10 million of Latinos turned to the polls when we elected Obama on his 4th term. The 2nd term, it was 12 million. Now, we all saw that just going to the polls is not enough. So we have some work to do. We have to go to the polls. We have to remember November, but we also have to continue working to hold those politicians that we elect to hold them accountable and require them to do what they said they were going to do. So that takes me to myth number 5. Most immigrants cross the border illegally. Now, while I admit that I did, Around 75% of today's immigrants have legal permanent immigrant visas. Of the 25 that are undocumented, 40% of stayed temporary non-immigrant visas. You know, the fact of the matter is that we have an immigration system that hasn't been updated for decades. We have a broken system. And one time I heard a bishop said that immigrants don't break the law breaks them. You know, the past 15 years, after 9/11, there has been a lot of enforcement-only policies that have a lot of laws that criminalizes immigrants. And so, unfortunately, you know, a lot of us have believed the lies that we hear on the news that our politicians use to demonize immigrants, but most of them come here with a visa. And it's kind of funny when my family members come and visit me, they ask for a permit for 2 weeks, and they give them a permit for 6 months. And, you know, I always wonder, like, why do they do that? I mean, they want you to stay here and then find a job and then become an undocumented immigrant so that you have to work, you have to pay your taxes, but yet you're not going to get any benefits. And so if it's hard for most of us in this room and for all the state of Kansas, you know, we're in crisis, and all the presentations have been awesome. I have learned a lot. Just imagine how much harder it is for our undocumented immigrants that are totally being pushed more and more. So myth number 6, weak U.S. border enforcement has led to high illegal immigration. From 1986 to 1998, the Border Patrol budget increased 6-fold, and the number of agents stationed at our southwest border doubled to 8,500. And if you see on the graph, every year they went up more and more, and right now we have over 20,000 agents on our border. Our border with Mexico soon will become the most militarized border in the world, with a country that we are not at war. The budget has gone up like 300% increase, 350% increase on the U.S. on the Homeland Security budget to militarize our border, to put, you know, to update the computer system and put all these agents. And they did all this based on we're protecting our borders from terrorists, right? I mean, the attackers and the horrible thing that happened on 9/11, they all were here on legal visas. They were here, I think a couple of them had overstayed their visas, but even farther, they had means. They went to piloting school and they did all that. So, you know, we're really targeting the wrong group here and using our money to do that. So our taxpayers' money. And then I go to the last but not least. I told you I was going to just do 7. Most unauthorized immigrants are criminals, especially the last ones, the last wave of undocumented immigrants, the 50-some thousand of innocent children fleeing for their lives. So the persistent myth that immigrants are more prone to criminality than the native-born continues to circulate viciously among politicians, commentators, and the public, despite a century worth of contrary evidence that high rates of immigrants are not associated with higher rates of crime. The argument that unauthorized immigrants are criminals because they are illegal is highly misleading. Unlawful presence in the United States, such as overstaying a visa, is a civil violation of immigration law, not a criminal violation. Entry without inspection, entering the U.S. without authorization, is a misdemeanor. More importantly, neither of these offenses constitutes a threat to public safety. So, like I said, since 9/11, you know, extremists have used this argument. In fact, when I started getting involved in organizing, we were seeking to get a driver's license for undocumented immigrants and in-state tuition, which Armando is going to touch on that. And Chris Kobach, of course, after they passed, well, before that, there was some testimony given that giving a driver's license to undocumented immigrants will be a slap on the face of those who lost people on the 9/11 attacks. And then after we passed the in-state tuition, Chris Kobach was the lawyer who sued the state for passing the in-state tuition with all these crazy arguments. So, like I told you, that we and both of them and I go a long way. So if you notice, I try to stay away from the word illegal for the most part. I think illegal, no human being is illegal, and that's a very demeaning and dehumanizing word. So I hope that as you go on and as you go talk to your neighbors and hear these conversations are going to come out. But they break the law. They don't pay taxes. You know better now. And you can help us educate and help us change even the word from unauthorized immigrants or undocumented immigrants. That will be the beginning, I think, of starting to be a little bit more sympathetic and really educating people to understand that we are human beings and we're not asking for handouts, we're not asking for a special treatment, we're just asking for opportunity and respect and the dignity that all of us deserve. Thank you.